Welcome, gents. The price of being true to yourself is that you'll often walk alone. Let's face it, being a Sigma male isn't glamorous. It's not some online fantasy about being mysterious and untouchable. It's about living life on your terms, even when that means you're misunderstood, misjudged, or completely overlooked. You don't chase crowds. You don't chase praise. You move in silence, not because you're hiding, but because you're focused on what actually matters. The world doesn't make it easy for someone like you. It rewards loud confidence, groupthink, and people who follow trends, but you're not wired like that. You think for yourself, you see through nonsense. And because of that, you often feel like the outsider. That's not a flaw. That's the cost of being someone who refuses to settle for surface-level living. You are a Sigma male not because you decided to be different, but because you refuse to be anything less than real. That quiet strength, that sharp awareness, that deep sense of purpose, those aren't just traits, they're proof. Proof that you've chosen the harder path. The one that doesn't come with applause, but builds something stronger than approval, self-respect. So if you ever feel like you're drifting away from the noise, let it happen. If they don't get you, that's fine. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to live fully, speak less, and move wisely. The truth may be brutal, but you were built for it. Let's get into it, gents. Number one, you don't belong anywhere, and that's the point. Let's be honest. You've probably felt it your whole life, like you never really fit into any group. Not because you were awkward or lacked something, but because nothing ever felt quite right. School cliques, work politics, social circle, they all had one thing in common. Rules you had zero interest in following. You don't play roles just to blend in. That's not rebellion, that's just you being real. You're the kind of person who listens more than you speak, watches everything without needing to say, "Look at me," and leaves when things start to feel too scripted. You're not trying to be mysterious, you're just allergic to nonsense. And let's be clear, it's not that you can't fit in, you choose not to. Big difference. Traditional hierarchies don't work for you. You don't care who's the loudest in the room or who's barking orders. Titles don't impress you. Social ladders, you'd rather build your own staircase in the woods and take your time climbing it. People don't get that, so they label you. He's distant, they say, hard to read. What they don't see is how much peace comes from not needing a tribe to define you. You don't chase alpha energy because you know barking louder doesn't mean you're in control. You don't cling to beta safety nets because comfort zones bore you to death. You walk the in-between, the space where most people are too uncomfortable to stay, but that's where you thrive. Yes, it can feel isolating. And sure, some nights you'll wonder if something's wrong with you, but here's the secret. That feeling of not belonging, that's actually proof you've escaped the system. You're not lost, you're free. And in a world obsessed with fitting in, that makes you dangerous in the best way possible. Also, let's be honest, watching the circus from the outside, way more entertaining. Number two, people project their insecurities onto you. Here's something they won't say out loud. You bother people without doing anything. Just your presence, your silence, your refusal to play along with what everyone else is doing, it makes people uncomfortable. And not because you are rude or arrogant, it's because you hold up a mirror without trying to. And when some people look into that mirror, they do not like what they see. You don't conform. You don't follow the script. You do not laugh at things that are not funny or pretend to agree just to avoid awkwardness. You're not trying to be difficult, you are just being real. But in a world that is obsessed with blending in, being authentic is like showing up to a costume party in your regular clothes. Suddenly everyone's nervous, so what do? They start projecting. If they're insecure, they call you arrogant. If they feel unseen, they say you think you are better than everyone. If they feel trapped in their own lives, they say you are too distant or cold. The truth is they are not reacting to you. They are reacting to the version of themselves they wish they could be, free, calm, and unbothered. And the irony, some will even idolize you, thinking you have all the answers. But admiration can flip to resentment real fast when they realize your peace did not come easy. You had to earn it by walking through your own chaos. So now you walk around triggering people without saying a word. They think you are judging them when really you're just wondering if it's too early to go home. You are not the villain. You are just the reminder that they could be living differently if they were brave enough to stop pretending. Number three, you never fully trust anyone. Let's be real. You didn't wake up one day and decide, you know what would be fun? Trust issues. No, life handed you those. probably with a smirk. You learned the hard way that not everyone who smiles at you means well. Some people only come close to see what they can take, not what they can give. And after a few rounds of being let down, used, or flat out betrayed, something clicked. I got me. That's enough. Your self-reliance wasn't a lifestyle choice, it was survival. You had to become the person who doesn't need to be saved because you figured out no one was coming. And even if they did, they'd probably bring drama, expectations, or their own hidden agenda. So now you walk alone. Not because you're bitter, but because peace is better than fake support. Sure, you've got people in your life, maybe a handful, maybe just one, and even then you don't spill everything. You give pieces, just enough to be real, but never enough to be completely exposed. It's not about being cold. It's about being careful. Big difference. People may call it trust issues. You call it pattern recognition. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, not happening. Fool me a third time, I'm blocking your number and pretending we never met. But here's the funny part. Your circle is so small it could fit on a post-it note. And yet you are fine. In fact, you prefer it that way. Less noise, less drama, fewer knives in your back. You've got trust issues, sure, but they're dressed in wisdom now. You're not guarded because you hate people. You're guarded because you've seen too much. And when you do trust someone, when you let someone in, that means something. That's rare. And that kind of loyalty is worth more than anything shallow or temporary. Number 4, you don't want followers, you want freedom. Let's get this straight. You're not interested in being anyone's leader, and you sure as hell aren't trying to be followed around like some self-help messiah. While other people are busy collecting attention like it's currency, you're thinking about how to slip out the side door unnoticed. Fame, praise, loyalty, all that stuff sounds nice until it starts feeling like pressure. And to you, pressure is just a polite word for a leash. You don't want a crowd, you want space. Space to think, to create, to move how you want without a dozen eyes watching and expecting something from you. The idea of building an empire sounds exhausting. Meetings, followers, image management, no thanks. You'd rather have peace and a little quiet than a throne and 10 people asking where you're going every 5 minutes. It's not that you can't lead. You probably do it without trying. People naturally pick up on your confidence, your direction, your independence. But the difference is, you're not feeding off it. You're not addicted to being admired. If anything, the more people start watching, the more you pull back. Not because you're hiding, but because you don't need the noise. And let's be honest, most people chasing power end up slaves to the very thing they built. You've seen it. The image becomes more important than the truth. They lose themselves while trying to be someone. Meanwhile, you're out here sipping coffee, dodging group chats, and deciding whether you even want to answer your phone today. That's real freedom. Not needing to perform, not needing to control, just being able to walk away without explanation. While the world chases clout, you chase clarity. And that right there is what makes you dangerous. Not your power, but your refusal to be trapped by it. Number 5, you get punished for not playing the social game. Here's the brutal truth. People say they want honesty, but what they really want is comfort. They want you to smile at the right time, nod even when you disagree, and sprinkle a little flattery here and there to keep the mood light. But you skip that class entirely. You don't fake laughs. You don't butter people up just to get ahead. You don't play the game, and that's exactly why you get penalized. You walk into a room and mind your business, but somehow someone still feels uneasy. Why? Because you're not doing the dance. You're not complimenting the boss's terrible ideas or pretending to be best friends with people you can't trust. You just exist, quietly, independently, and unapologetically. And that alone makes people nervous, especially people in power. See, they're used to being worshipped a little. They're used to the small talk, the fake enthusiasm, the subtle ego boosts. And here you come, treating everyone the same, asking real questions, offering honest answers, and not once licking a single boot. That kind of presence, it throws the whole system off. So what do? They exclude you, overlook you, maybe even try to push you out quietly, hoping you'll take the hint. They don't say it outright, but the message is clear. If you're not going to play the social game, then don't expect the usual rewards. But here's the twist. You never cared about those rewards in the first place. You weren't there to be liked. You were there to do something real. And if that means you don't climb their ladder, fine. You'll build your own floor. You're not antisocial, you're anti-bullshit. And deep down they know it, which is why they'll never forget you, even if they never say your name. Number 6, you're unapologetically selfish, but that's what saved you. The good type of selfish. Let's clear something up. You're not selfish in the way people like to throw the word around. You're not out here stepping on necks, hoarding resources, or acting like the world owes you anything. No, your version of selfish is about survival. It's about protecting your peace like it's sacred because at one point you didn't, and it nearly destroyed you. You gave too much. You said yes when you should have said no. You poured your time, energy, patience, and loyalty into people who took without giving, drained without filling, and expected without appreciating. And when you were finally empty, burnt out, bitter, and broken, you looked around and realized no one was there to return the favor. That's when it hit you. The only person who's going to save you is you. So now, you guard your time like it's gold. You say no with your chest. You leave messages on read if you need space. You're not rude, you're not cold. You've just learned the value of not handing your soul out like free samples at a supermarket. Of course, people don't like it. They call you distant, selfish, unavailable, but what they really mean is you're not easy to use anymore. You've got boundaries now, you've got a door, and not everyone gets a key. And let's be honest, that so-called selfishness has become your superpower. You're more focused, more grounded, and more you than ever before. You've cut out the noise, the drama, the fake smiles. What's left? A life that actually feels good to live. So no, you're not sorry for choosing yourself. That version of you who used to people please is gone, buried, and in its place is someone stronger, sharper, and finally free. Call it selfish if you want, just don't expect an apology. Number 7, you'll be accused of arrogance for simply knowing your worth. Here's the thing, the moment you stop doubting yourself out loud, people start whispering that you're full of yourself. You walk into a room knowing who you are, and suddenly you're too much. Not because you brag or show off or try to be better than anyone, but simply because you don't shrink, and that right there, it unsettles people, especially the ones who still look in the mirror and ask for permission to matter. So you don't over-explain anymore, you don't second-guess your voice. You've done the inner work, you've fought your battles, and you've earned your sense of self. You know what you bring to the table, you just don't feel the need to shout about it or put glitter on it. And somehow that quiet confidence feels louder to insecure people than someone actually showing off. They call it arrogance. Why? Because it's easier than admitting they feel small around you. You don't worship their status. You don't beg for validation. You're calm, grounded and unfazed. And that kind of energy makes people either curious or defensive. There's rarely an in-between. But here's the funny part. If you were cocky, if you walked around talking nonsense and name-dropping every 5 seconds, they'd probably find that more familiar, more normal. You'd fit the mold. Instead, you just sit there, unbothered, sipping your coffee like someone who actually likes themselves. And that, for some reason, is offensive. Let them talk, let them assume, let them throw labels at you, because deep down, you know the truth. Real confidence doesn't need to announce itself, it just is. And if knowing your worth makes some people uncomfortable, maybe it's time they start asking why. You're not arrogant. You're just done pretending you're less than you are. And that's power most people haven't tasted yet. Number 8, you're unshakable, but that comes with a price. You've got that calm, collected energy that makes people think you've got it all figured out. Storms hit, chaos erupts, and while everyone else is panicking, you're just there, quiet, steady, thinking 5 steps ahead. You don't fall apart, you don't complain, you just handle it. But here's the truth no one talks about. Being unshakable can feel like a lonely superpower. People see your strength and they stop checking in. They assume you're always okay because you seem okay. They dump their problems on you, expecting you to hold it together for them, and you usually do. What they don't realize is that just because you carry it well doesn't mean it's not heavy. Sometimes you're holding things together with barely a thread, but you don't broadcast it. You've trained yourself to suffer in silence. You deal with your pain privately, not because you're trying to be mysterious, but because you've learned that most people only want your strength, not your struggle. And here's where it stings. When you need a hand, it's crickets. No one offers to lift the weight off your shoulders. Why? Because they think you're built for it. They think you don't need help. The truth, you just stopped asking a long time ago. You've become the rock for so many people that they forget you're human, that even the strongest ones get tired. That even the most unshakable souls sometimes just want someone to say, "Hey, how are you doing?" But you keep going, you always do, because your strength wasn't built for applause. It was built through pain, through solitude, through learning that if anyone was going to have your back, it had to be you first. Still, just because you don't need saving doesn't mean you don't deserve to be seen. Even warriors need rest. Even pillars crack. And just maybe the strongest people are the ones quietly carrying battles no one even knows about. Number 9, you chose freedom over acceptance. And that's a brutal trade. Let's not sugarcoat it. Choosing freedom over acceptance sounds noble, but it costs more than most people are willing to pay. It's not just walking away from the herd. It's walking away from applause, from belonging, from those cozy little social circles where people pretend to like each other for the sake of fitting in. You chose truth over comfort. You chose to think for yourself, speak your mind, and live life on your terms, even when it meant standing alone. And trust me, people don't like that. Not because you're wrong, but because you remind them of everything they gave up just to feel accepted. You get misunderstood a lot. People throw around words like difficult or cold or rebellious when all you're doing is refusing to be something you're not. They don't see independence. They see defiance. They don't see clarity. They see ego. They'd rather believe you're the problem than face the fact that they're living by someone else's script. And the loneliness, it's real. Let's not pretend it doesn't sting. There are days when silence gets loud and you wonder if maybe, just maybe, it'd be easier to dial it back, play nice, nod along. But then you remember, acceptance that demands a mask isn't really acceptance. It's just emotional debt with interest. Being free means you won't always be liked, you won't always be invited, but what you will be is real. And that matters more, because fake belonging is easy to find. Real freedom isn't. And if being truly yourself means walking through life a little misunderstood, a little underestimated, and a little alone, so be it. You didn't come here to be liked. You came here to live unapologetically, and freedom, brutal as it is the one thing you'll never trade for a seat at a table built on approval. Number 10, you constantly battle between isolation and intimacy. Here's the truth that no one really talks about. You want connection. Deep, real, soul-level connection. The kind that doesn't feel like work. The kind where you don't have to explain yourself every 5 minutes or shrink parts of who you are just to be understood. But here's the problem. You also value your solitude like a dragon guards its treasure. And letting someone in feels like handing over the map to the vault. You crave closeness, but the second it starts to feel like emotional handcuffs, you back off. Not because you don't care, but because you're terrified of getting too soft, too exposed, too tangled in something that could weaken your independence. You've built your life around self-reliance. You've learned to carry your own weight, and now the idea of needing someone, even just a little, feels dangerous. Like it could undo everything that makes you strong. So you play this quiet tug-of-war with yourself. One side of you wants someone to understand your silences, to see through your walls without demanding you take them down. The other side is already planning the exit strategy in case things get too close, too messy, too human. It's not that you don't want love, you do, but you want it on your terms. No control games, no emotional babysitting, no fake bonding built on fear of being alone. You want something rare. Connection without captivity, intimacy without obligation, a bond where you can still be you fully and unapologetically. But that kind of connection is hard to find, and while you wait for it or while you push it away without meaning to, you keep living in the middle of this emotional paradox, alone enough to breathe, close enough to feel, never fully one or the other. It's exhausting, but it's also real. And the fact that you're aware of this battle, that means you haven't given up on connection. You've just decided not to settle for anything that costs you your freedom. And honestly, that's a kind of strength most people will never understand. Number 11, you see through the masks, and that's exhausting. You ever walk into a room and feel like you've just entered a costume party where nobody got the memo that Halloween is over? Everyone's got their mask on. The overly friendly one who's smiling way too hard, the smooth talker throwing compliments like confetti, the fake humble one who brags with a side of modesty. And you're just there, quietly watching the entire performance. You don't try to notice it, you just do. It's second nature. You catch the fake laughter that doesn't quite reach the eyes. You hear the slight shift in tone when someone's trying too hard to impress. You sense when someone's not being real, And suddenly you're not just part of the conversation, you're deciphering it like it's a secret code. And here's the messed up part. You can't unsee it. You're stuck knowing what people are really saying under all that politeness and posturing. And instead of enjoying the moment, your brain is like, ah, that compliment. That was a strategic move, or that story. That was rehearsed for effect. It's like trying to enjoy a magic trick when you already know how it's done. No wonder it feels like you're running on empty by the time you get home. But the real exhaustion? It comes from pretending you don't see it, from biting your tongue, from playing along because calling people out makes things awkward, because being honest would make you too intense or too much. So you nod, you smile, you let people wear their masks while you quietly carry the burden of truth. And it's heavy. Because deep down you crave real, you crave raw. You crave conversations that don't come with a script. But here's your edge. You may be drained, but you're not blind. You see through the game, and even when it's exhausting, it reminds you why your authenticity matters. In a world full of actors, you're not here to play a role, you're here to stay real. And that's rare. In final words, it is not the loudest in the room who holds the most power. It's the one who knows he doesn't need the room at all. Being a Sigma male is not about being mysterious or brooding for show. It's not some internet badge you wear or a title to flaunt. It's a quiet, complicated reality. A life of self-mastery that no one claps for. It's choosing the harder path because fitting in has never felt like home. You're not driven by praise, you're driven by purpose. And that difference? It makes you stand out even when you're silent. You don't follow, you don't ask for permission, and you sure as hell don't settle. You question everything, including yourself. You've built your life from the inside out. That's not arrogance, that's survival. You had to learn how to rely on yourself because the world was too loud, too fake, too easy to lose yourself in. So you turned inward. You carved out a space where truth lives, even if it's uncomfortable, especially if it's uncomfortable. Yes, it's lonely sometimes. Yes, people misunderstand you, but don't mistake that for weakness. If anything, it's proof you're doing something right. Most people would rather be accepted than be real. You chose real, so no, being a Sigma male is not glamorous. It's raw, it's honest. It's freedom with a price tag. But if you're wired this way, you already know there's no other option. You were never meant to follow the crowd. You were built to move through life like a silent storm, calm on the outside, powerful underneath. Stay that way. Keep choosing solitude over noise. Keep choosing meaning over attention. And never apologize for being the one who doesn't need the spotlight to lead. You're not broken. You're built different. And that difference is your greatest strength. Thank you for watching, gents, and God bless you.